Oh, hi there! Welcome to the next developer update here of Demonhour 3D. I right now usually call it just Demonhour 3 because Demonhour 3D sounds so, I don't know. The 3D is so retro to call games 3D because 3D is nothing special anymore. It is as if I would call myself not Kitsunaki in internet, but Demon Slayer King Killer 99. I don't know. You get what I wanted to say, yeah? Here you say the board that is kind of something like your main menu, something that tells you about the project, about why and what, and the patch notes of the current version. And you see that I, during the years now, nearly 2 years, this is the beginning of the credits board. And yes, I had Patreon posts back there, but nearly no one watched there, so I let it be there. So I definitely also had those patch notes here, when was what. So in documentation I always were, I was good in that. So that was one reason why I got my first job in the gaming industry, because the documentation in the company I joined was a bit lacking, because they wanted to work and not to document, and so I just did it. And yeah, like you can see here, the versions got new screens, a new screen with each new version. Here you see the 3D logo that I just brought into the world there, created also by in Blender. And let's just move on through all of these as if it would be, yeah, here you see, for example, a difference between the beginning, kind of my first bathroom on the left side, that was totally by stuff I got from the internet. It was, I guess, Sketchfab stuff. I just organized everything like it was organized in the bathroom of my granny back then. But to the right, 1 year later, I remade it all by myself. I killed everything, and then I just remade it from scratch in Blender. Because then I was able to just match everything like it was and use photography for building up textures. And then I just calculated normal maps out of them, or used roughness maps that will roughly match. And these we had the last time. And yeah, here, that was my Blender project. Here you see still the hallway. To the lower left, you see that I planned the whole stuff in The Sims. It was the third Sims 3, I guess, yes. There you see, in German words, that I planned where are the rooms. I planned there because then I saw on the grid how many meters I how much meters has every room in any direction. So it was easier in Blender to use to just build up the whole mansion like that. And here you see the front door, like it was on the pictures to the right, as you can see. In Blender, everything looks so much better than in Unity. That I definitely learned. So I started quickly to not put too much attention to lighting and materials in Blender, but just keep Blender for the geometry. Because it was so... my motivation lacked a bit when I just saw the difference between Blender and Unity all the time. But you can't just take that for... I mean, in Unity, everything is based on real-time stuff, and Blender can just take time to look fancier. Yeah, you see here also the tiles are now correct and everything. Here you see a front of the house of Granny, and that was just one part of the whole mansion. in the end. And to the lower left, you even see a work in progress concept art of the whole mansion. But that concept art was dropped. But I got another one later. You will see that. Here I definitely tried to plan how big the mansion should be. Here you can, for example, see plans and I learned how to add rooms to rooms so that I could just build up the whole mansion. And I let 10 centimeters of space between the rooms to have kind of doorways everywhere so you could just go through them. I thought, there are rooms that Granny had and rooms that she had not. So which rooms would a mansion need? And so I just wrote lists of rooms I definitely wanted to have in this mansion. And so I planned them in and brought them in. The attic was something that I, in the beginning at least, didn't really build up like it was. I made just one big attic room, but later I also brought in the rooms up there. Here you see it without the roof, and there were so many problems with walls having the opposite direction of the normals, for example, because usually you just have something colliding from one side and not from the other. And so I needed to realign everything so that it worked. To the upper right, you see also an Excel sheet about which maps of my materials were for what. So because I was still learning what is an occlusion map, what is a height map, what is a normal map. And I had to see which is which, and also I said, okay, this is more good for floor, this is good for walls, this is good for ceilings, and different things could also be nice for different materials. You can also bring a ceiling material to the walls here and there, so you can just reuse materials to have them to be more performant when the whole map is loaded in your VRAM at once, yeah? And I wanted to save some slots, so I thought about what can I reuse where. And then I just assigned materials to all of the stuff in Blender and UV mapped everything kinda correctly. The first versions were totally awful. I had to learn that the tiling is definitely important to see. I just made a cube projection at first attempt and fine. And that was my first version. I just uploaded to see, because what you learn very quickly in game development, everything is iterational. You just bring it out, look at it, and then you work on it again. You need to test all the time. You can't just wait too long until you do something, until you fix something. So here I tried to get, I had even pictures so close of the wall in Granny's place that you could even see the here you see the tapestry of the wall, and then we made a normal map out of that and brought it onto the walls to copy that kind of. Here you see a carpet that was hanged to the walls that I just used from photos with the normal map of the ground to have the same structure, and then put it onto the wall. To the right, again, a few examples of maps that I liked. If it is in Luigi's Mansion here, or on maps of other users doing stuff for virtual reality. In virtual reality, everything seems a bit bigger. Everything has more impact than in non-VR, in my opinion. Here you see then I made a few things. Also, I got a few things, and I started to bring in the portraits, yeah, to the upper right, left of the robot. I thought about to bring into the game, but robots in spook mansions. You know, ideas. We have ideas all the day, but ideas doesn't mean that they are good or that we should follow each of those ideas, because it's not important what you can imagine. It is important what you can just bring out, what you can work on, what you can what you're able to create and to finish. To the middle left, you see a model that the art director of our company I worked for made for me. That was just because I didn't know, you know, as Kitsunaki, I'm a purple fox in the internet. That is my alter ego in virtual reality also. And he just made this. It was for in 2022. It was for Christmas. I remember. And to the on the lower line, you see all the plans of the mansion in The Sims. Yeah. Also, another thing you can learn: use all the tools you can. Try out new tools and see if they can suit you. You don't need to buy for $1,000 a fancy software with which pro people can plan houses. If this is enough for you to plan it, to make a draft, then do it. Yeah? And the Excel sheet to the middle right was just a planning about which rooms would I like. And also you can see to the left of the robot there, the couch, kinda, the chair, the armchair, yeah, and how it was done in Blender below. Here, you can then finally see what I, in the last episode, showed you. The pictures of my family. I planned them in a Photoshop-like program. And also I made a little, little signs that, and planned how many frames I needed. Also in real life, yeah. And also added some pictures of really old furniture, like from 1778, as you can see here, or 1811 there, the gate, that I photographed every time I was in my homeland, because when I was there at my family's place, then I got new inspirations from all the stuff that was still there from back then. Also here on the upper right, you see a little shrine, a memorial of my now not anymore living grandma. And below you can see the real life picture of all my drawn pictures on the wall here in real life. Funny, because on the fabric that is printed with the material, like to the left side, I initially got for the game. That was totally funny, yeah. Yeah, and one thing I then learned as I was, the first times I was in VR and checking my things, like you can see on the bottom, the little purple finger. This is my purple fox in VR, and you see that when you change the geometry after you made the UV maps, then the new UV maps are totally stretched and you can just throw it away. So you have to remake your UV maps then. So I learned, finish your stuff before you make UV map work, because otherwise it is totally stretched. Also, you have Z fighting here and there. The way I made the rooms, I mean, I learned how to do it better later, but at this point, sometimes different planes were on the same place, and then you have Z fighting. So the graphics card is kinda thinking which should be in front of which when it's both on the same place, but physics says there can't be such a thing like two things on the same place. It's called Z fighting, and it is annoying. Here you see on the right, upper right, these tiles my granny used in many storage rooms. And so you see the on the bottom how these tiles were transported a bit more used and dirty and old into Unity then. I also learned Udon. It is a noodle system, so a node system, like blueprints in Unreal. I didn't use Unreal until this summer in 2024. Since a few months I'm learning Unreal Engine to be a better game designer, to learn more things. But this was an add-on for Unity to make a more visual programming possible there for this VR map. And there you see the map first time in Unity. And I had to learn which versions of Unity work with the current version of the VR program I wanted to transport all that in. And here you see the textures that I already long time got, bringing it into Unity. And another things that I learned, you see too shiny, too flat, just right. Yeah, every surface has different roughness, kinda. And another thing to learn, there are so many things to learn. Another thing to learn was nothing is swallowing all light or no light. And nothing is completely scattering light or completely reflecting light. There is no mirror that reflects 100%. There's no surface that reflects nothing. So when you have roughness, put it between 0.1 and 0.9. There is no 0 roughness or 1 roughness. That is not possible. In the beginning, I didn't know how to use roughness maps. Or that, for example, roughness and smoothness is the same, just one is the inversion of the other. So I had still much to learn. At that point, I just fixed the tiling of all the textures there, as you can see, and try to tweak the roughness as whole. So the whole texture got a roughness and not a map that changed it. So, but every material can have a roughness map that suits. So, for example, tiles should have different roughness than in between the tiles to have like a grid, yeah. And with those tricks, you could just use the tile texture in Photoshop and use some changes in hue and brightness and contrast. And because then you would exaggerate the space in between the tiles, and then you can use that, maybe invert it, try around a bit. Then you can create a way better effect of roughness than just saying the whole roughness should be this or that. And then the tiles have the same roughness as kind of the cement in between, yeah. And no, you don't need to have everything in 4K. 2K is enough. If you're really close to something, like a little important pickup item could be 4K. But I also learned that the walls are more important than the ground, and the ground is more important than the ceiling. The walls you often collide with. The ground, how often you lay on the ground. More often than you're tied under the ceiling, definitely. But because the ceiling is more far away than everything else, the ceiling could be in 1K or even just 512 pixels. So I learned how to crunch down textures. So you don't need gigabytes for such a map. A few hundred megabytes would be enough. But also this I had to learn first, yeah. Here you see the things coming slowly to action. Using height map for the skulls on the wall to make it popping out a bit more. Using the first physics on objects like the pumpkin I bought. It's a model I bought. And then I made it a rigid body. I got mesh colliders to work. I learned what is the difference between something that is static and non-static. Non-static objects can move, static cannot. If something moves but is static, then it will not move the rigid body. The mesh will maybe move, but the object itself will be kind of frozen in place, and that can cause errors. Unity is not causing so many errors like Unreal does. Unreal is picky. Unreal says, nah, not working. In Unity, the textures can be whatever, for example. In Unreal, they have to be 1-to-1 format and dividable to 2. This is definitely something that is also normal, but Unity taught me that everything is fine. You can also use sound files, OGG, MP3, Wave, whatever. And Unreal, just Wave. Everything else not working. So Unreal is definitely picky. And Unity kinda... Yeah, in Unity I learned to be very sloppy. And Unreal is now making it totally different. Would I like to transport the project into Unreal, I would have to redo most of the game, because the materials from which I can start are not optimized for Unreal. Yeah. So many things to learn. Here you see again tiling problems. When the tiling gets too small, then you can see the tiling and it looks awful. So make it big. Use detail maps to bring something else. Yeah, what can I say? Just bring objects in, because then if you just have the sheer walls and grounds and everything is just focusing on that, and that's awful when you clearly use seamless textures. I often use seamless textures because it is way easier then to reuse them, because stone is stone and tiles are tiles and carpet is carpet and rock is a rock, wood is wood. And so often you can just use seamless textures to not have one texture for every object. Yeah. And I changed definitely also the skybox. I bought little packages that, for example, clouded the sky because it was not matching to use the normal skybox that was built in. I brought in a mirror that is kind of working with a camera, kinda, and switches to switch the mirror on and off, so you can save performance. I searched for a carpet that is close to the carpet in my granny's room, because on the pictures stuff was standing on the carpet, so I couldn't use. But I found textures that I could use. And I learned how to set up those nodes. You see here on interact, set active, target, get active self, unary negation. What does that mean? The target is the game object, the thing that is in the world, and you get the active self. Is it on or off? And unary negation says when off then on, when on then off. It turns to the opposite. It is like an exclamation mark equals. So do the opposite. And the set active sets the activeness of a game object on to a bool, on or off. And it does on event interact. So when you click on something, then it is a toggle, switching between on and off. And that was the first code I ever did in nodes for that project. A mirror switch. And I was definitely still building more rooms, more floors, and fixing the floors. You see now an upper floor with a... You see that the roof slowly is coming out on the lower right. And door frames. I built door frames because I went into Blender and I made a door frame for one of the empty door frames, and copied that as instances all over the mansion. But no doors to that point. I asked someone to build me a door. And that door I used everywhere then. Also, as you can see, as I made the cellar, the entrance, the first entrance was the well. So you can just jump through the well into the cellars and sewers. And also the tower was added like I planned. So the mansion was kind of finished. I made a roof and an outer wall because there was no outside planned. But for pictures, I wanted an outside. So you have something to to show off. The tower should be a bit crooked to have more of this cute spook. Yeah. And I definitely needed stairs now to get between the floors, but that was not possible at first. I tried to have something playable in 2022 until Halloween. Well, yeah, it was kinda a little showcase spook map without really anything to do to that point. But I continued working on that during the next 2 years, yeah. What I also learned later, you can activate GPU instancing on materials. And when you deactivate static batching in the staticness of objects, then you can render the textures of all the objects in the level that using the same textures in one single draw call. That is good for your GPU. These little tricks you have to learn first, yeah, to implement them. Also, don't use too many real-time light sources. Use baked lighting for the overall look. Crunch the baked light maps down and just put in a few real-time lights around you. And when they are behind you or away, turn them off. Also, occlusion culling can help, that just the stuff is rendered actively in the GPU, what is looked at. But it's still in the CPU when it's not deactivated. So, yeah, nothing is perfect. Better turn stuff off when possible, when it's behind doors or in other floors. Something that I now, in the current version, I'm still fighting with how to put the level into pieces without the player noticing too much. Here you see the tile table that I remade in Blender, very roughly, super low poly, but with the picture, but with current with photos. This is an interesting look when you have it low poly, but based on photographs. This is a definitely funny look. Yeah, and the heating, you see, remade. But what came next, I will show you in the next dev update. So thanks for staying with me and see you next time. Tschüss.